There are a lot of incidences where you can make that assailant or that perpetrator very, very sorry that they had committed this crime without ever having to fight back.
Find somebody. Find anybody. Scream, cry, crawl, yell, alarm alert, pull the fire alarm on yourself. Let someone know that you are on fire and you are going to blow up.
After a while, I went up to him, I was like, hey, I want to get out, you know, I want to get out. It's like, I can't, I don't want to be in no more.
I think it took a long time. It took a long time. But I never stopped trying. I never stopped, you know, finding a new place or standing up to him or trying whatever I could do.
No one wants to step forward and be accountable, because accountability these days means that you're at risk. If you say something, you're at risk for repercussions from other teens, you're at risk for repercussions from their parents, you're at risk for repercussions from, you know, townspeople, you're at risk from repercussions from a lot of different groups, and damn it, I don't want to be at risk, and that's what they're saying.
I encountered a hate crime at my high school, my first day, where I was jumped by 15 guys right across the street directly after school. Some of the things they said were faggot. I think their favorite word of choice was queer, or basically faggot would be the best ones they would use. I think the one thing that really angered them, I guess, the most is that for my own way of surviving in high school, I found a way to, I guess, what you call kiss butt with all the girls and all the teachers in my high school. So all my friends were basically all the top 10 most popular girls in high school who, you know, were girlfriends with the football jocks and stuff. And I think since they liked me so much as a friend, for them, I think they felt violated because they couldn't do anything to me because their girlfriends would yell at them and things like that. I was kind of in a lot of pain. My back was severely injured. I couldn't really move too well. And so my friend, the girl who was a friend, came back and dragged me back to a side street where the neighbors were at outside gardening and stuff, and they called the ambulance.
Well, everyone has a different type of process for how they start down the road of healing from being a victim of hate violence or hate intimidation. I think that a lot of people can face it directly and challenge themselves to go out into public again and say, I'm not going to be fearful of walking down this alley or walking alone to my car leaving a building. In addition to that, I think a lot of people may deal with the situation by seeking support from friends. They go to support groups, discussion groups, or meet with family, and they talk to them about, you know, I need some support, I need someone to talk to me about what's happened to me, I need to be comforted. There are organizations throughout the country that help people take that step from being a victim to working with the police to make sure that that perpetrator gets put in jail. Any young person who becomes a victim of hate violence has to understand that there is always a remedy in place somewhere. If they're not met with any assistance by a teacher or an administrator, everyone has a boss, and they can go to that person's boss or that boss's boss, whether it's to the school board or to an elected official in that city, and say, listen, I'm not being addressed, my needs aren't being met over here.
I guess throughout high school, the only logical way I saw of fighting back that really actually hired my spirits, what's what we're looking for, elevated my spirits into making myself better in a way, was that music and the arts were like my most favorite areas to be in. Probably for two reasons. A, the attention. So I guess that was my 50% of what I had to do with revenge against the students, and The other 50% was I actually did love the arts and music. So I guess the smart move I did when I was in high school was I actually started a band. And the other smart move is I did everything possible not to be the stereotype that they inflicted upon me.
Across the country, there are 40 states right now that have hate crime laws in place to enhance penalties when crimes were committed purely on the basis of race, religion, genders, and sometimes sexual orientation. Only about half the states now have sexual orientation coverage in their laws. But we want to encourage people to not just use laws that are in place to punish people, but to use policies that are also in place at any institution like schools. So for example, one school might take a hate incident and just punish a student. One other school might kick that student out of school completely. So there are lots of different ways. Public pressure has to be there, though, to exercise those policies and that form of reprimand.
The best defense tactic for somebody who's going to be in a violent situation would be to let as many people as you know what's going to be happening, just so that people do know about it. This way it's not one of those things where we can't really prove that it really happened. At least maybe someone will be there and watch it, or at least see what's going to be happening so that you have witnesses to see it.
I was completely rotten from the inside out, and I didn't know what to do or who to go to because I was afraid they would tell my parents. Every day in high school was harassment. It was everything from name calling to teasing to following, ignoring. I'd use the bathroom, they'd walk out of the bathroom, burning my clothes in gym class. You name it, every trick in the book that a high schooler can pull, they did. The verbal abuse was worse, only because as an abused child, physical abuse was numb to me. My thoughts and feelings of what I wanted to do to everyone in my high school would make a killer blush. I wanted to cut them and pour salt in their wounds. I wanted to spit on their face 1,000 times over and over again. I wanted to step and stomp on their head. I bought new boots when I was in high school, because I thought, wow, you know, if someone messes with me again, I'll just crush their head. And I wrote a letter to my parents, and I told them, you know, either I was going to kill them or I was going to kill myself, but I had to leave.
I think it's really challenging to get a teen who's you know, a potential perpetrator to look at the consequences, you know, of his or her actions. But they can at least be in tune with the fact that if you're starting to sit down and get all of these bizarre thoughts about blowing people away, if you're getting to this position where you're starting to think about, you know, look at, you know, what would happen if my parents were dead? What would happen if my schoolmates were dead? What would happen if, you know, when you start to think about those things, that's the beginning of the concept of being out of control.
Know your triggers. Understand why you're violent and why you're angry with this person, and understand the root of your anger. A lot of times the anger doesn't come at this peer, but it's I'm angry at my situation. I'm angry about what's going on at home. Start understanding where it's coming from, and then you start to deal with it from there.
If someone would have come to me and said, hey, I got a gun for you. You want to kill these people? If you kill them, that's over with. No, I wouldn't do it. Because of one reason, because of my higher power, and another reason is if I killed them, who would be the weak one? If I killed them, I would be the weak one, because I would show them that I couldn't handle them being around. If I killed them all, I'm weak. I show them that I'm weak and that they made me weak. And they can keep that to their grave that, hey, look, we made Jenny go nuts. We made her kill everybody. Ha ha.
We have hundreds and hundreds of community organizations in our community that are just dealing with violence and teens and teen problems and things of that nature, so they can turn to those as well.
I had sought out Affirmations, which is a community organization, and they helped me. And I met people who were like me and who were in the same situation as me, and people liked me. And people knew my name. You know, people knew who Jen was.
Bullying is forever. It's been forever in schools. Most parents don't have a clue of how really unsafe schools are in terms of this aspect, and how many kids every day get picked on because, of something that they have done or that they've worn or that they've said or whatever.
There was 3 kids in general that were harassing me, and then one beat me up. They call me like whore and slut and bastard and that kind of language. This all started because there was a rumor that I liked a girl that was going out with one of them. I'd just sit in my room and just think about what's going on, and why are they doing this and how it could have happened. And I just couldn't find an answer. And it was just like, and then finally I just provoked them back because I didn't have any answers.
A plan of action for a victim who's being bullied could be, number one, obviously get some sort of a feel for the background of the bully. Where has this come from? What has been the series of history that he or she has dealt with to bring them to this point? So then if you do get an opportunity to have any kind of dialogue with that person, you can start to talk about it from an empathetic situation. That's number one. Number two, maybe sit down and write that person a letter and let them know, that number one, in some ways, how you're feeling about being bullied, and number two, that, in some way, shape, or form, maybe you'd like to sit down and talk to that person. So it's not just this constant reaction stuff. It's the victim starting to take some responsibility, and the victim then taking some action based on that responsibility so that they can be operate more in terms of their own survival.
At the start, I just tried to ignore it and try to be friends with them again and be polite to them and just have them forget about all this. But it just didn't work. So then finally, when it escalated to trying to beat me up, I tried to go to my counselor, and we tried to figure something out, but that didn't work. And so my counselor and us, we were just all just sitting there trying to think of what we could do to try to solve this. And they said they would stop, but they lied. They didn't. They just tried to get at me again.
We teachers, we administrators need to be open and receptive to the young people. When they come and complain, do not discount it. It is valid and it's serious. Children do not come talking to us about things that are not valid to them. Listen to them. Parents begin to listen to them. But young people, you can avoid those things by knowing who's the bully and knowing, their signs and what they're doing. Avoid them. Also, one of the things that perpetrators do, they prey on victims who are shy and that are sensitive. They look at your weaknesses. That sometimes people feed into fear. Having some confidence about yourself, but not being too cocky, but having some confidence. A lot of people will avoid you if they think you're confident in where you're standing and how you're walking and whatever you're doing, but have some confidence about yourself. Don't let them see your weaknesses.
Well, you know, my dad, he wasn't there much. Just basically my mom. My dad was always gone, you know. My brothers, I have 3 big brothers. They always, you know, I had to hang with them because I didn't have nobody else. And, you know, I seen them doing the bad, you know, hanging with gangs, being gang members, carrying guns, doing drugs. So I thought it would be cool if I did it, thinking I would be like them. I thought it was cool, you know. Thought it was like one of the best things that ever happened to me until like about a year right when I first got my initiation. Then, you know, I was in for like a couple weeks, and then my brother, he got locked up, and I was like, oh man. And my brother, you know, he started talking to me. He was like, come on, dog. He was like, you're gonna end up just like me. He was like, I know you do what I do, and everything I do, you do. And I was like, I know, you know. And then he was like, you're gonna end up getting locked up. You're gonna end up getting locked up. You know, I just started thinking and thinking, and I just like stopped hanging with him. Like I would start like slowly like not hanging with him as much. And after a while, I went up to him. I was like, hey, I want to get out. You know, I want to get out. It's like I can't. I don't want to be in no more. And he was like, oh, it's cool. You gotta fight this person. You know, you gotta fight her. You gotta fight her in order to get out. I was like, all right.
Some of the steps that a teen can take if they feel like they have nowhere to go or no one to turn to, one of the first things I would recommend to them, there are a lot of teen help cards that are out there that are published nationwide that have hotline numbers that they can call that will actually assist them and help them. There are community organizations out there that are paid to do the very thing that they need their help with. There are certain programs out there that will get young people out of a gang, relocate them if they have to, get them jobs, and help them to deal with their situations.
I was severely beaten by a rival gang and left for dead. I wanted to kill the guys who left me behind. I wanted to kill the people who jumped me. I just wanted to kill everybody. My own gang friends that they say, when you got in, we're all brothers. We die for you, we ride for you, do anything. You know, at the time, it sounded good. It sounded real good. Then after it happened to me, I realized it ain't that true. You know, that's just a myth. You know, that's just to get you in a little lure, a little hook, a little bait. When I was with my girlfriend, you know, she wanted me to join this group. I was like, nah, I don't know this guy. He don't know me. Why should I go, you know, go see him in the group, you know, church group, you know? I was like, you know, there ain't no use for me. I was like, I'm gonna go to hell anyways, you know, why should I go? One of my gang friends gave me a gun. He said, if anyone tries to ride on you, come, you know, driving on you, just start shooting. Don't care, just shoot. One of my friends who left me behind started walking through the alley. You know, I seen him walking through the alley, so I started smiling like, yeah, he's about to die. Cocked the gun, hid behind a bush. You know, I had, the devil was on me, had the horns, the little smile, you know, I was just like, yeah, he's about to die, all that. And he was walking with his family. When I seen his family, smiling and laughing, just, you know, walking through the alley, just, you know, having a good time, I stopped to myself and just started thinking, you know, like, you know, what's it worth? I joined the gang to do these things. I did it. I got jumped because I was in the gang, wearing the colors, throwing up the hand size. So why should I kill this person, take him away from the family? I'm still here. I'm thanking God that I'm here still. I could have been gone. You know, I should just let him live his life, and however his path's going to lead, it's going to take him there. And I had a clear path. You know, after I got jumped, my path was clear, and I had to start looking for new directions to follow.
There'll still be gangs, and kids will still join gangs. But when you have somebody on a one-to-one basis that truly believes in you, when you have somebody on a one-to-one basis that is concerned about your well-being, they become a major deterrent for, you know, for gang involvement, because they become the person that you bring the greatest level of trust to, and you bring your inner feelings, and you bring some of the thoughts and actions that you're going to be looking at in terms of your future. You bring it to that person and you lay it at their feet, and you ask their advice and you ask for their feedback. That's the best of all worlds.
This gentleman came to me when I was in the hospital. Alex Montaner. He started telling me things, how I should live my life and all this, you know, you should change your life around.
There's a number of after-school programs in any city that you go to. There's always positive groups of young people that have support for each other. Churches, there's after-school activities such as working. I like to tell our young people to try sitting down and doing activities with your family. When a young person spends so much time with a gang, they think that's their family. They forget the value of really being part of something. And everyone's family might not be picture perfect, but it still beats any day in a gang.
When I was 15, my boyfriend raped me, and over a period of 3 months, probably, continued to rape me and started beating me over and over again, just about every day. I don't think I identified it as rape for a lot of years after that. Because I didn't know, I couldn't talk to anybody. He threatened to kill me if I told anybody. If I didn't go out with him anymore, if I broke up with him, it didn't matter, I'd be dead.
For someone to begin healing from a sexual assault or sexual harassment, I think that part of it is being able to share it with someone that they trust, or be able to understand that they were not responsible, they're not to blame for what happened to them. Even a mistaken judgment is not a rapeable offense. One of the counselors here uses that term a lot, and I really like that, because another person does not deserve to be victimized because they made a mistake.
There are a couple major steps I think I took to get away from him. I tried to break up with him. I finally was able to, call the police. At that point, I still never told anybody what was going on or why, just that he was threatening me, but nobody understood why. And then a year later, I went on spring break, and I told one person. I guess it was my way of testing waters to see what would happen. And it was a bad experience because I told one person who I didn't realize must have known him, and the day I got home, I got a phone call from him threatening me again. That was the day I told my parents.
If you don't get support from your friends, or they don't believe you, or they say, well, I know this person, they wouldn't do something like that, then talk to somebody who will listen. If you tell an adult and they don't listen, talk to an adult that you trust. Whenever an assault happens, or if you're in an ongoing relationship, there's a fearfulness about what's going to happen next and what you can do to help yourself. Being able to turn to agencies for help, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network has an 800 number, 1-800-656-HOPE, and that will connect you with a program in your particular area. I really do recommend counseling, because with counseling can come also group activities and a group therapy type of approach, which is really helpful, because there's an incredible feeling of isolation and secrecy with being sexually assaulted. Being able to share that secret with some other people and recognize that their response is the same is an incredibly empowering thing, and it takes the power away from the secret.
The night I told my parents was the last night we ever discussed it. Still. And so that was the end of that. My parents wasn't an option. Police were no help. I didn't tell the police that he had raped me, but I told them he was stalking me, which I thought would be better. But of course that didn't work. And at school, I was going into a new environment with people I didn't know and systems I didn't know how to work with. And I still had only told probably 2 or 3 people what had happened. I wasn't even using the word rape because I still at that point didn't know what it was. I started taking classes and realized that someone finally said the word date rape. And all of a sudden, my eyes kind of opened up and said, wait a minute, you know, what's date rape? There's rape, and then what are you talking about? And it was like, well, it's someone you know. And then I started getting it. And I think that's when I started seeking help. That was the day I started living all over again, because I saw a light, like, you know, someone flipped a switch and I could smile. And it was kind of cool. I was able to see a future and do things for myself, and it wasn't my fault anymore, you know. All of a sudden someone said, it's not your fault.
In looking at ways that people can protect themselves if they're in a situation of being attacked, say on a date, in a date situation, I think it's really difficult for people to kind of recognize that, oh my God, this is happening right now. Really being able to tap into your instincts. If this doesn't feel right, then you have the right to stop it. And whatever means that can be. If it means yelling at the person to stop, yelling and screaming, drawing attention to yourself, so that it's not just you in terms of an isolated situation. Getting out of the place where you are. Doing the best thing that you can do. If you can jump out of the car, if you can kick the person and be able to use physical defense strategies that have been practiced, that may be something that you can do. Whatever way you're going to handle it is going to be the best way for you at the time. That's real difficult because people want a magic formula, and there's not. It's really independent to the individual person.
I think it's a must for teens to become an active voice in their community, because otherwise we are guessing what young people want and need, and we're guessing wrong, obviously, today. We need to hear from the source, and we need to create, again, that safe environment so that the source will come to us with the pulse of what is going on in every community. And most communities who exist in denial exist because there is nothing major that has occurred in terms of this explosive situation to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, we now need to deal with this problem. But meanwhile, these gangs recruit, and you know, kids are planning, and a lot of things are festering in a community and boiling. And unfortunately, what, you know, most communities don't see it until after the fact. That's why it's imperative that young people step up and take that voice in their community and talk about the issues, and talk about the fears, and talk about their feelings, and talk about the fact that they know that this subculture exists, and this is what happens in this subculture.